Hello, folks. Welcome to another episode of the Off-Air Voiceover Podcast. My name, I think, of course, is Michael.
And I'm Jen, and we are, as ever, smooth.
Yeah. This absolutely flawless intro. Look at that. So today, as you'll have seen on our thumbnails, we have got the infamous duo of Helen and Rob Bee from BEE. How you doing, folks?
Hello, very well, thank you.
All good. Really appreciate that you've both taken the time to jump on. I know, obviously, we've talked privately that we've been trying to arrange this for some time, and I think we've found the perfect spot to do this episode in this season. So, really great to have you on board. For those of you that may not know who you are, would you like to sort of bring them up to speed?
Oh, do you want to start, Rob, or shall
Yeah, I can start. Together we are BEE. We help voiceovers to be seen and heard. I am an audio engineer by trade, so I have been working with voiceovers for 25 plus years. And so what I do for the business is I help voiceovers kind of set up and manage and upgrade their studios. I can help out with training people in various production techniques on various platforms, software platforms. I can help with editing of things. I can help with showreel production. And, you know, if it makes a noise, ask me if I can do it.
And so I look after the visual side of our business and helping voiceovers with anything to do with getting seen. So my background is working as a web and branding designer back in the late 90s when I when the internet was a very different thing, I think is the best way of describing it. And my background is working for corporate advertising agencies, marketing agencies, and in-house corporate stuff. Really boring, hated it, and then found voiceovers thanks to Rob. So we now are married and work together and live together, and
and are sick and
has pros and cons.
Which is why
You made that sound like a lot.
Which is why we're on different floors of the house most of the time.
For those listening, they're both recorded on separate rooms. So
Very different spaces.
need personal
And it is funny about like personality, isn't it? Like if you look, if you need to check onto YouTube and check the different personalities coming through in these video feeds.
We are, in that respect, we are very, very different in our workspaces, and the way that we work is. I'm glad Rob's in a room that I can shut the door on.
Yeah,
I can really
they're very
struggle
different
coping.
jobs, though, aren't they? But
they are very. This
crucial.
is the thing, is that we couldn't work in the same office because I'm working with sound all the time.
Yeah,
when
that
Helen
wouldn't
is
sound good
working,
in
she is
Helen's
listening to music. I cannot listen to music when I'm working, and when I'm editing something and I'm kind of focusing on a click in a word or whatever, and I'm playing that word over and over and over and over.
It's
and
bad
over
enough
and over
through a
and
ceiling
over
or
and
a
over.
floor. It's from a distance. That's hard work on my brain.
And analysing people's noise floors as well. I get told off for that when I'm a floor away. So you know.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Wow. Another thing as well, before we get into it, is it's probably well worth mentioning about your huge involvement in the socials. So obviously, for those that don't know, Rob and Helen own the VoiceOver Social, and that is, it's a big part of our industry from a not necessarily networking, just for getting people together, just like forging friendships, forging relationships. I suppose network obviously does come part of it, and that's how I got to know you two from the Manchester one. And obviously now you've got the annual one, the Great Big, which has just been and gone, which was excellent. Thoroughly loved it. So for those that are listening and haven't been to one of the socials, if you are UK based, then you've got most regions covered, haven't you?
We have got 18 meetups.
Yeah, we haven't quite got the southwest covered. We have had one or two inquiries for setting a group up down there, but we need local people to run all the
if
groups.
Anybody wants to set up a local meeting,
Cornwall and Devon isn't covered, but
Okay.
I think the closest to that is the Wessex group, isn't
one,
it? I think,
yeah.
If people want to set up one, though, do they need to do anything? Is there like an?
Well, you have to let us know.
Yes.
No, but I mean, like, do you think, like, if they're going to add your name to it, like the VO social side of it?
So what we do with the hosts of our local areas, and we do have 3 in Europe as well, which is kind of fun. So we're not just UK
we do the
based.
Paris one.
You do the Paris one, Michael. Yeah, we've got one that meets up in Berlin, and we've got one over in Finland in Helsinki. So it's
Sue, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Shout out to Sue, because she'll probably listen to this.
Hello, Sue.
Hey, Sue.
So, if people do want to set up a VO social in their area, basically they can. The groups vary between groups of 2 to 4 that regularly meet up to larger ones like the Paris one, but that was like that was bizarrely big.
We had
literally
was
40 or 50.
No,
people?
it was
it more than that?
Closer to 100. I think
incredible amount of people.
Yeah.
That turned
we did a
up.
head count roughly when we did a big group picture, and I think we got about. I'm sure the number 86 keeps popping in my head. I don't know why.
It just shows how much people need that connection.
Absolutely,
Obviously,
it was
dying
phenomenal.
out. Yeah,
and the thing is, obviously, for me, I don't speak a great deal of French, which is something I'm desperately working on, because now the government have changed the law. When I renew my visa in May, they changed the law this year that you have to pass A2 level French, which is it's a step above basic, but that's still a big step for me, because obviously we speak English all the time.
Yeah,
it's not going great, Jen. I'm not going to lie.
Please don't launch into French just yet.
So, but I'm getting there with it. But anyway, when we organised the social, like the response when we put out that we were going to create it and organise it, oh my word, it was phenomenal.
I think so nice.
There's a lot of people that spoke English came, so it wasn't strictly for French people only. Like anyone was welcome to come.
I think this is it, and this is what we really encourage as well, is that even with the smaller groups, people travel and they don't necessarily live in that area. It's just that they regularly work. Like the London one is another great example. Whereas a lot of people obviously do live in London, but there's a lot of people that visit London regularly for work because of the nature of the city it is. Yeah. And so people will pop in and visit. And we've got socials happening all around. So in terms of setting one up, all it takes is really 2 people to meet somewhere. And some of the groups meet annually in person. Some of them meet... It's usually about quarterly, I think, is about average. But, we ask people that are organising the groups to find the venue, and we will help promote it with them. And that's as far as the kind of list of requirements goes.
And
really.
the critical part about the local meetings is that they are free to attend.
Yeah.
And that means that there are no charges associated with hiring or reserving seats in a venue as well. Yeah. So it does make the organisation maybe a little bit more difficult. And I guess if any of the local leaders did want to put their own hands in their own pockets and pay to hire a space. Yeah. But it's absolutely not necessary, because the whole point of it is that it is literally just a social thing, get together. Generally speaking in a pub, but not always. I mean, the Berlin group has had a big picnic in a park somewhere in Berlin and things like that. So harder to do in the UK, because we all know what the weather's like over here. But yes,
sometimes manage it.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Helsinki did a Christmas market meetup in Christmas because they do. And like there's all sorts of. We've held ones in Manchester when we know that somebody's been visiting from the US and we knew them, so we just gathered a load of people at the same time. And they can be quite informal. They don't have to follow any particular pattern. And I think that's kind of what works, is it's trying to make it suitable for the area that you're in as well. So the Midlands one has toured a little bit. It's never been in the same location for 2 minutes, because they go to where people are. And I think that's nice as well. It doesn't have to be one location all the time. It doesn't have to be a big city. It can be a small village pub that or a coffee
and
shop
some of the groups meet kind of on a Friday night or Saturday. Some of them are midweek. It just depends on the demand from the people who are likely to attend.
And again, that can change. It's about trying to find what suits the people that are in that area, and just giving people a group of people they can actually talk to and decompress with, and maybe moan a bit and celebrate with.
So important.
And just talk.
This line of work is quite unique, and not a lot of people obviously you can relate to it. And also, when you're working in this job, you are in vast majority of cases working by yourself. Yeah. So to have like a bit of a community where it's like-minded people, they understand the trials and tribulations of this line of work, that it's just great to talk to people who get it. Yeah. And the amount of friendships and relationships you build from it, and you become like a bit of a community, it's just fantastic.
Absolutely.
So for anyone listening that hasn't been to one, has ever thought about going to one, I strongly recommend you try and find one, because it's just nothing but benefits from it.
We do have an online meet as well, so if you are in an area where there isn't a local social, then we hosted...
What's that, Pint and Rabbit?
The Pint and Rabbit, yes. Yeah. It started during lockdown because we got sick of seeing each other only each other, rather quickly actually, because that's unsurprisingly maybe. But also
wake up every day like.
This is definitely too much. But also my background, when I used to work in advertising agencies, Fridays used to clock off an hour early and do drinks once a month in the office, and that was such a normal part of my week or my month. And when I went self-employed and started working from home, actually I really missed that kind of element of it, so we thought we'd combine the two, and it's still here. So we took over the VA Social officially a couple of years ago. We weren't the instigators of that one. That was Nick and Leah. But since we've took on, we've got a lot more groups, and we've got the monthly podcast as well that we have a natter on as well.
Over social, I really enjoyed the last one you did actually with JD.
JD.
Yeah.
Oh, I've not listened to that yet, actually. And I love JD. Shout out to JD.
So, speaking then of going back full circle of podcasts, so one of the great reasons why I want to get you both on is because there's a buzzword that I'm seeing a lot online, which is personal branding. And I've been sort of diving into what it really means, like how people are trying to utilise it in terms of your self-employed, your freelancer, that you have to present yourself as a brand and all the stuff that goes with it. So, obviously, Helen, with you been working a lot with branding and websites, I mean, you had a website with Alex Perry, that one of yours, did you get nominated for an award or something?
We won a SOVAS this year. We won the SOVAS this year for the best website award, which is really exciting, particularly thrilling because it was Alex that put the entry, and I had no idea because I was a judge. And so I didn't realise it was even in the categories until it came up on my roster, and I suddenly had to change what I was judging for obvious reasons. I had to kind of go, I've got an issue here, guys. Sorry.
You had to recuse yourself from that one.
Yes. So,
it is a gorgeous website. Obviously, all the work you did on it and the animations are just beautiful as well.
Yeah, it's a proper collaboration between three people, that one, which has been really good. But I mean, in terms of the branding thing, I think I get... I think branding is taught badly for voices. And I think
would say it's not taught.
Or not taught. I think that some of the stuff that is taught is what I would say is wrong. Okay. There's some really
Let's hash
big...
it out then, Helen. Tell us about that.
So I think it's overly complicated as well. So a lot of people think that branding is all about, like you say, there's a difference between corporate branding and personal branding. Yeah. And actually there isn't.
Yeah.
The difference is in the marketing. It's not the branding. It's how a multinational corporation is going to market themselves in a very different way to an individual. Mm-hmm. Of course they are. But the essence of branding has nothing to do with the visuals. It's got nothing to do with colour palettes, logos, fonts, websites, none of that. All of that are elements that form a visual brand, but that is not branding. That is a visual identity, and I think there's some real bad terminology because people call it visual branding or visual, technically it's identity. It's how people recognise you. The branding bit is much more of a concept. Yeah. And so the way that really good companies brand themselves, and Apple, love or hate Apple, they're a fantastic example of it. Yeah. What they concentrate on is the experience a customer has with you, the business. And that doesn't matter whether you're an individual or a massive corporation. It's all about curating that experience. And it also doesn't matter what you voice, whether you voice commercial or animation. If you talk about the experience of working with somebody as your brand, that doesn't change no matter what you do. You can offer haircutting services as well as voiceover. The experience is with you. Yeah. And if you brand that experience and you build your visual identity to represent that experience, that's where branding can be incredibly powerful. The problem is that people get so hooked up on colours and how they look and the visual side of stuff or how their voice sounds. And, whether I want to do corporate voiceover, but I also want to do character voices. So there's a real trend, particularly with the US market, to have caricatures and things like that. And you become this thing. Whereas actually that pigeonholes you and it restricts you and people make presumptions about what you sound like because of the visual side of what you do. And it shouldn't be about that.
But we're told we need to niche down. So often when you join the industry, they're like, you need to choose a genre to really go for and market yourself solely to that.
Yeah.
And I think, and I mean, certainly when I started and still now, I'm like, well, I don't want to. I want to do loads of different stuff. I want to play with everything.
And I think you still can be a niche with the work that you do, or you can have that variant, but the branding element of it shouldn't restrict that in any way, and I think that's the bit that people get confused.
Okay.
If you think of whether you want people to have a smooth, calm, chilled, like Apple, you walk in there, everything is just like minimalistic, it's really clear, it's really obvious what you're going to get. They don't even have tills or checkouts, they come to serve you. It's all about the customer service. It doesn't really matter that they sell computers. That experience would work whether you were in a fashion shop, whether you were selling, like I say, whether you were a yoga teacher, whatever. Equally, if you want your brand and the way that you work with clients is really energetic and colourful and like you've got energy, then you can represent that with the colours and the typography. Yeah, but it doesn't matter whether you're voicing a serious commercial or whether you're voicing a character
that's what people
read.
are going to get, regardless.
Because it's working with you that's the branding. And I think that's the bit that people really get stuck on.
I think that's a really good point, because I think that is a big misconception. Branding isn't just the aesthetics of what someone sees, and the front door's nicely decorated, but it's what happens when you open the front door and go through. That's the experience you're having, isn't it?
Yeah, every single, and I hate this phrase, but I can't think of another one. Touch point. Ugh. I don't like that phrase. But every time they interact with you in some way, so the emails that you send them, the way that your copy is written on the website, the way that you meet them the way that you dress when you go to a networking meeting, the way that you turn up to a studio to do an in-person session, the confidence that you have whether you're doing a live directed session, all of that is branding. Yeah. It's all that experience of working with you. It's got sod all to do with colour, really.
Yeah. Do you think, like, in this day and age now, I see quite a lot, another buzzword is about authenticity. Like, I mean, obviously, inevitably, people present themselves as professional. But there seems to be a much more shift towards people sort of dropping all the corporate lingo and just being their full natural selves. But I think there's a line, though, isn't there, that you've got to be careful you don't cross, that you don't come across too pally-pally and lose a bit of the professional sparkle. What do you think?
I guess it's dependent, and I think, Rob, actually, because you've worked in the kind of session end before you doing what you're doing, actually, it's about that relationship building. Yeah. And the closer you are to being your natural self, the more consistent it's going to sound when somebody's reading your website, reading an email for you. I mean, if they get this really corporate website and then land in a live directed session and you are nothing like that, suited and it's going to be such a shell shock to them. They're not going to know who they've...
And exhausting for you to like be
putting on that front the persona all the time.
I mean, I think maybe the way to think about it is, you can... You talk to your mates in one way, you talk to your grandma in another. You know, you're not going to go to your gran and start effing and jeffing and telling her about all your latest sexual exploits or whatever. Whereas you might with your mates. And so we already naturally talk to different people in a different way. So what it is, that tone of voice thing, which... big companies have a tone of voice and they say you have to talk to somebody in this kind of manner, whether it is pally or corporate or whatever. Yeah. But for us as small businesses, we're just kind of extending that kind of we talk differently to different people kind of thing. And so you talk to your clients as professionally as you want to. I mean, I've been to, seen lots of my friends interacting with their families. And at times I've just kind of thought, bloody hell, I could never say that to my mother, for whatever reason, whatever it is, And so everyone has their own kind of value, if you like, of how they deal with their professional clients in their professional but the consistency thing is kind of key to it,
and, so
and protecting that brand and not kind of I don't want to say not dropping the facade, but not just kind of you've been very professional and calm and all the rest of it, and then at some point it's just like bloody whatever. You've got to try and maintain that that kind of approach really, and that professionality, and in that sense protecting your brand.
Yeah, I remember when I first started when I first started getting into voiceover, like people would always call me Mikey, and I had no problem with it whatsoever. But I'd sign off. I was trying to just be a bit jovial, and I was like, I mean, I'm a very down-to-earth person anyway, so I don't put on a bravado or facade, but I still know how to be professional. I've worked for myself for almost 20 years now, so I know the rules of the playbook. But when I was signing off messages and stuff like Mike, and I was like, it just doesn't sound right. And I think sometimes people can also maybe potentially feel a little uncomfortable calling you something that's very, not personal, because it's just a name, but something your mates would call you if they don't know you.
Yeah.
So I dropped it. So I dropped it about a couple of years ago. I just signed everything off as just Michael, not Mikey. And I thought just that little tweak, I'm still being, obviously you sign off your name, of course you do, but just that little tweak I think just tidied it up a little bit, you know what I mean? And my branding is all about trying to just be very much as my true authentic self. I'm professional and relatable, and
that's where that authenticity, I think, that you mentioned, that's where that can come into it. I mean, as we said, the easier it is for you to be that all the time, the more natural it comes. One, it's easier to market yourself if you're just talking in your natural voice. So those of us that are self-employed or small businesses have a much easier time trying to work out what that is, because just be you is actually the thing that makes you the most unique thing. Yeah. You are the person that people are dealing with. You're the reason that people come back to you, because they might like you, and that is sometimes why we get work. It's not necessarily because we can do something better or worse.
To repeat clients.
Yeah.
People enjoy working with us, and it's such a underrated part of branding and marketing is just be a good person to work with.
Yeah, and don't be a dick.
They'll remember,
People buy off people. And I think I've mentioned something similar in the past where we have to always remember that when you're talking about your prospective customers, they're a human being just as much as you are. So think about what you like. Yeah. And it's like sometimes we use certain words like consumers as if they're from a different planet. I'm a consumer. So it's like we're all part of the same thing. So think about how you like to be treated, how people like to interact with you, what makes you work, and then just effectively try and offer the same thing because you're appealing to the same species.
And it's something the robots can never do as well. Yeah. And I think that's the other big part of it, is it's not just about making it easy for you. It's what sets us apart as human beings. It's what makes us special. It makes us unique. It makes us different from everybody else. And it makes us better than the robots, because there is that genuine connection. You can't get that when you're working with AI.
Absolutely not. Do you think as well, like, so from a branding perspective then, so obviously voice acting is like a business like any other. You are the product, your voice, your abilities are the services that you sell. So is it important to really position yourself like packaged up as a business? Not just, I know most people use their name as like whatever, voice actor or whatever, which is very much the norm. But do you think it's important to try and put some kind of branding behind it all to present it as a business, as opposed to just my name, voice actor? Like, tell a story behind what you do. That is
technically a brand in itself, and there are lots of very my name, voice actor successfully working, six-figure earning voices. I think it's up to you how you want to do it. Some people prefer to go down a kind of a branded business name, and that can work. But some people prefer to just have their name. And again, it's about, if you're working with an individual, I guess the other thing is that even if you go for a branded name, so you became the voiceover of whatever it is thing, have your name in there at least a few times on your website, because that's the sort of thing that people are likely to be searching for if they've worked for you with you before, or they've seen you somewhere at an event. They're unlikely to remember your brand name. It's pick what feels most natural. I think the easier you can make these things for yourselves
and your clients,
the better. And I think that's it.
Sorry, go on.
No, I don't overthink it. I think it's a good one. I mean, some people purposefully and rightly use pseudonyms, or, women particularly want to use maiden names as opposed to married names, all the rest of it. I totally understand that. Or you're in one of those really fun situations where you just happen to have the same bloody name as someone else who's already doing what you do. And so you have no choice but to have a different name, because otherwise you're going to get confused with someone, and that's fine, and that works. But as long as it's consistent and clients that you want to work with know who you are and what you go by, do what you want.
Yeah, I think sometimes people can use like their name, and then they give themselves like a tagline, and sometimes I think, or they run off that tagline. They don't actually use the name, but it doesn't there's not a great deal of relatability back to the service. I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but I have seen them.
But I think I can think of a few people, but it works for them, doesn't it? And I think as long as they're consistent with that, if that's the messaging that goes out and everyone knows that, then
Well, that's what I did, because when I first started out, the reason why I didn't use my surname, because no one can fricking spell it. So I thought, what's the point?
You'd be surprised how many people can't spell B.
So I thought, okay, I'm from Manchester. I had this idea in my mind. I was like, so I just, like every person who's ambitious, they want to get known for what they do. So I thought, well, I'd like to be known as a good voice actor from Manchester. So because people can't spell my name, I'll just call myself Manchester VO, keep it that simple. And I thought it'll work well for SEO, because people are typing a voiceover from Manchester will use those keywords.
Yeah.
So it worked. But then the really interesting thing is when you look at, the Google thing to check your stats and whatever, Search Console.
Yeah.
The number one search is my name. Every single time.
Because people want to work with you, and I think that's where that balance is really important. And I think...
Maybe there is something in that about, using Manchester VO, which you did for perfectly valid reasons. It just separates a little bit, and it's just that little bit more abstract, whereas Michael Ashtiani is a person.
Yeah.
And so they know, it's just, Manchester VO is that, what is that? It's not a person, it's a concept,
I totally agree, and I've debated dropping it quite a lot of times, actually, because I thought, if somebody sees that in a listing, first and foremost, there's a bias, a confirmation bias straight. I don't want a Manchester accent, because they might think I talk like Liam Gallagher, so they won't even click. And I don't. I've got quite a soft Manchester accent, but I'm unmistakably northern. So I thought about dropping it for reasons like that. And also, what if people think it's almost Manchester VO? It sounds almost like it could be an agency. I'm looking for a one person. So I don't know. I think I went in with it with the right intentions, but then as years have gone by, I thought, I think it would be easier just to go by your actual name, and that's what you're known for. And when obviously people land on your website, they know what you do. So I think, how you position yourself, whether you do choose a name or you go with a brand name or whatever, consistency across it all is just the most important thing, isn't it?
But equally, it can change, and I think that's a perfect example of where your business has grown and you've changed a bit, and so why not flex with? And that's what I mean by that restrictive branding. Whereas if you brand yourself for the way that your voice sounds, and you devoted everything to becoming Manchester VO in the way that the copy was written like that, the photography, everything was so Manchester looking, that you doing anything away from that just feels so foreign, people wouldn't know it was you. Yeah. And that's what I mean by restrictive, whereas actually the way that you've used it gives you that flexibility. We've changed our tagline. The be seen to be heard gets used in different ways now because we play with it, and that's part of it. You can, things
You must
evolve.
have been really pleased with yourselves when you came up with that, though.
Oh my God,
it was me.
It
was me.
Honestly,
she absolutely hates the fact that it was me.
It wasn't. It was the several months and various versions beforehand, and I wish I'd kept some of them because some of them were truly awful. Oh,
what
God,
a cracking tagline!
Painful.
I mean, that's just absolute. Talk about brand identity. That's
But even that, before we launched it, we checked it out with a few people that we knew well in the industry, and that came back 50-50 mixed reviews of people saying, "I don't like it. The grammar's wrong on it technically," and so even within that. You'll never find something that suits everybody. No. So that's what I go with. Well,
I saw it and she was like, "Well done, well done, you absolutely smashed it."
Yeah, it's. I mean. Blimey, if I can't get it right, I'm in trouble.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously,
my career. But yeah, annoyingly, Rob did.
Well, I mean, the other part about that, though, is that there is no right or wrong. It's just, you come up with something which you hope works, and if it does work, brilliant. If it doesn't, then you pivot and kind of change something else. I mean, going back to what Michael was saying earlier, I mean, Snickers used to be called Marathon. Yeah. Things do change, brand names do change. I mean, everyone at the moment is laughing their tits off at Zuckerberg because he's having to shut down his metaverse.
80 billion wasted.
However many years ago that was originally launched, they were so convinced that it was going to be an absolute smash hit that they changed the name of the company from Facebook to Meta. And then now, 4 or 5 years later, whatever, they're having to shut the metaverse down, and everyone's like, 80 billion down the drain.
I mean, that's the thing, I think. And like you say about taglines, it doesn't matter. You don't need a logo. You don't need a tagline. Those aren't the things you need to get a voiceover business off the ground and to make it successful. I think people put so much pressure on themselves to do all these fancy, shiny things when actually what you need to be doing is trying to get work.
Yeah. Trying to get work and get better at your craft.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. And I think a big part of that as well is, in terms of recognising or trying to be recognised for what you do, a big part of that is like testimonials, client feedback. If they're littered all over your website or social media, that is a big part of branding. You know what I mean? Because it's your reputation, isn't it?
Branding boiled down to, I know it's annoying. It's a phrase that someone else came up with. Branding is what people say about you when you're not in the room.
Yeah,
it's got nothing to do with the way that you look. It's all about reputation.
Yeah,
that's a really good way of putting it. Yeah, I think, and it's true. So, what would you say then if you were to try? Okay, probably another way of phrasing it then is some potential things that people maybe overthink or maybe do slightly wrong when it comes to branding. Is there any sort of, you've just mentioned one there?
I think is the overthinking. I think one of the really, there's so much advice out there. There's a million websites telling you how to do it. I think the basics of of where to start with it, and it's something I do with all of my clients, and we do it for ourselves as well, is actually having a list of, say, 15, 20 words of how you want your brand to feel to other people and how you do not want people to see you. And have those two, that's the best starting point that I can think of. So if you want people to know you for being calm, cool, collected, the way that you write your copy will be different if it's calm, cool and collected, or if it's energetic, playful and low-key. And I think having those two lists and having what it isn't as well. And don't just use things like good customer service, because honestly, if there's anybody that has bad customer service on that list, I mean, no, it's just so... of course everybody wants to have good customer service. Of course everybody wants to have good turnaround times. That's normal. You want to try and pick stuff that's a little bit different. So for us, it's things like the ethics of where we use our suppliers from really matters to us, and that's something that appeals to some people and doesn't appeal to others. But for those that do like that kind of thing, then great. If if that doesn't matter, that doesn't matter. It's one of those, you kind of pick, make decisions on which words, whether you're going to swear or not.
Yeah.
Some people are very comfortable with that. Some brands do it very well and they use it really cheekily and playfully, but then you wouldn't expect like a Dior to kind of suddenly, it just would feel so out of kilt.
Yeah.
And so having those two lists of this is what I want to be, this is what I don't want to be, I don't want the experience to be, it's such a good starting point, because it can flex a little bit as well. It doesn't hold you to anything too tightly, but it guides everything that you do.
I think a good example of that is who we had on the podcast recently, Camille Murdoch. Her branding is unmistakably her. Like the way she talks through her social media posts, the way she does her videos, she is unapologetically her, and it ties perfectly with like her brand and how she presents herself. You know what I mean? And it's like the Dior example you gave then, like if they present themselves all posh and fashionable, but then I don't know, their press releases start with, "All right, dickhead," like it just doesn't work, does it?
No,
you pay attention there, right?
But equally so, like Alex Perry's a really good example as well of the other way of doing it. So her website is bright and colourful, and it's illustration, and it's a bit mad, and it's there's a lot going on. But she also does corporate voiceover work, but she does corporate voiceover work for people that want her extra edge.
Yeah.
And I think that's the bit where it doesn't have to limit you with the type of work you get. It's about the experience of working with you. And that's the bit that companies want. And they want that relationship.
Yeah. If you get a website that feels like Alex, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Her website feels like Alex, and that's just a testament to the fact it works, doesn't it? And I do see a lot of websites. I'm sure you've not made any of them, Helen, but they just feel like you could be anybody. Like, I'm not getting anything from this. It's just, there's no personality. I'm not getting a sense of who you are.
And I think people are really scared to put their personality out there in sessions as much as anything else, because it's not what society teaches us to do. We're supposed to conform and become these grey robots that march around somehow navigating an education system that's set for one brain type when we're not. And let's face it, most of us that are self-employed because we don't want to be or can't be employed. We work differently. Our brains work differently for bloody good reasons.
Yeah.
And so why
That's
not
Helen's
be?
way of saying that she couldn't hold her job down.
But I couldn't. But I know I'm not alone. And, it's one of those... don't necessarily embrace the quirk just for being quirky, but don't be afraid to be you, because that's the most unique thing there is about you.
Yeah. I don't know why I feel like it's just a bit of a mic drop moment in my head, because I think that the whole misconception of branding is the aesthetics. Like this is, it could be all fancy lettering, it could be like mine with a little B logo in it, but ultimately none of that really matters.
None of it matters.
It's all about how people know you, how you talk, how you present yourself. Whether you're quirky, whether you're funny, whether you've got a dry sense of humour, whatever it may be.
Yeah, whether you can...
uniquely you, and that is the brand. That's what people remember.
It's reputation and relationships. It's nothing to do with how you look.
Yeah. Amazing. I'm going to change the subject slightly then, after Michael's just picking his jaw off the floor.
All these things going on.
I know. I can see the cogs turning. Everything's going to be different by tomorrow. I was just going to say to you, Rob, I think when I started doing voice acting, so I come from like a traditional acting background, and it was a steep learning curve in many respects. But one of the largest ones was around... I had no idea what to do with audio. In terms of performance, I was okay, but like everything else was like, where the fuck do people start? And there's so much bad information on Facebook groups, or just information. You're like, I don't know anymore. Have you got any advice for newbies or people wanting to improve?
Especially now, as well, before you start, Rob, I see a lot. One other thing I see now is people giving advice on things like TikTok, or people are basically, if they're making content but they've put relatively low effort into the audio and they're passing that information on, is it being acceptable or good enough? And I think if that information keeps getting fed, it can suffocate some people, because actually just getting the right information on audio equipment, etc., can make such a difference. Yeah,
totally. I really agree with what you said. I think there is a lot of... Specifically when we're thinking about voiceovers and the voiceover industry, there is a lot of bad advice out there, more than there is just general bad advice. And the reason for that is that in my career, and I've seen so many different kind of audio setups for so many different types of audio work, the highest quality specifications necessary in any area of work is for voiceovers, professional voiceovers. And narrowing it down even further, if you're an audiobook reader, it goes a step beyond that again as well, because when we are sitting in our rooms, our booths, whatever it is, we do not want to hear a pin drop unless a script calls for a pin dropping. And so, walking into music studios and radio studios and things like that, the level of soundproofing that is needed in those kind of environments is nothing really compared with what we've got. I've got a CD, because I'm old, and we actually were just shuffling music in the car as we were driving somewhere the other day, and what came on was... they call it an a cappella version of Soul to Soul's Back to Reality. It's not an a cappella version at all. It's just the dry vocal just been isolated from everything else. It's rubbish. But the one thing which is really, really striking on that is how much bleed there is coming through the headphones in the studio.
Oh, wow.
And so the microphone is picking up a lot of the backing track and everything else that the singers are singing to. Yeah, but it doesn't really matter in that context, because the music was the singing was going to be laid over that music anyway, so it kind of syncs up nicely. But it was never going to be heard in the isolation that it is actually heard in on that CD. When we are working in voiceover studios, in as voiceovers, we don't have the luxury of knowing that. Well, I mean, sometimes our work will be blended with other voices, music, sound effects, all the rest of it. But we have to presume, and we have to set our studios up so that we can record dry audio, which not only doesn't have dropping pins on it, but it doesn't have reverberation and all that kind of stuff. And so, it is the highest, I think anyway, the highest kind of quality of studio that people need to create, and we need to do it. well, you guys need to do it very often with very little training, and you need to fit that thing into your home in such a way that the kids, the dog, the partner, the cars outside, the dustbin men, all this kind of stuff creates as little interference with the sound as possible, but also our work. Because if we are constantly being badgered, if we're constantly being disturbed by whatever it is, it just breaks the flow of the read and damages the performance. So,
Definitely.
Finding the right advice is difficult, to get back to the question you actually asked.
Interesting, Rob. It's okay.
Finding that right advice. We need to, and this is a really difficult thing. When we have a bit of experience behind us, we can then say, oh, yeah, that's good, that's good, that's good. But when we are coming into it from fresh, we don't know what is good advice and what isn't.
No, you've got no idea.
I mean, the big thing I would say is to look for people who are specifically giving advice to voiceovers, not musicians or anything like that. And the other thing I would say as well is, if you are looking for advice online, just doing your own research, which is obviously a fine thing to do as long as you're looking in the right places, but avoid people who are telling you how to make a home studio. Your studio is in your home for the vast majority of us, but home studio in audio terms means something slightly different. It means, okay, so I strum a few chords on a guitar and write a couple of songs. I want to put something together to capture my ideas, and nobody apart from me is going to really listen to it, and any family members that are forced to. The quality of that doesn't matter. So in that kind of situation, I mean, 20, 30 years ago, the advice was get a load of egg boxes and stick them on your wall. It looks like acoustic foam. It has absolutely no effect on the quality of the audio at all. It's terrible. But the advice these days, which is kind of on a similar kind of thing, is to use moving blankets. But moving blankets is such a blank term. There are some moving blankets which are okay, but there are a lot which are terrible and will dampen reverberation so that you can strum a few chords and sing a few notes on top of that, and it will work. But for voiceovers, making not a home studio, but making a professional studio at home, it's generally not good advice.
Okay, professional studio at home.
Yeah.
Okay.
I started off with have you got a vocal booth to go, Jen? Looking at those curtains behind you.
No, I've got acoustic blankets and other things.
Well, that's what was good. Well, the blankets from vocal booth to go. That's what I started with, and I found it was good, but I probably overdid it because obviously not like a booth like this, which is good for keeping out outside noise. With the vocal booth to go, is obviously to let a lot of outside noise in. So to give myself a little bit of an extra chance, I double wrapped it, but I think that made it worse because it was so densely. The sound was so dense in there. But I think they're a good starting point in terms of getting set up and started from home. Because one of the key things is, I know we talked about this before we started, is shopping for a microphone. And a well-known phrase is, you can buy the most expensive microphone in the world, but if you're in a poorly treated recording space, you're completely wasting your money.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people who are, whether they're starting out or they've been going for a while, that recording space is pivotal. It really is. It's like one of the most important things.
Yeah.
But when it comes to things like microphones, I mean, there's so many layers to it. Is there anything you think people misunderstand when picking a microphone in terms of the right microphone can be found for the right sort of voice? And people
I think
sometimes.
It is a complicated area, and I think, I mean, the thing with microphones is that it has to match it doesn't have to, but if you find a microphone which is sympathetic to your voice, then it's just going to put that icing on the cake of your performance. But also just kind of thinking about the room that you're going to be using it in as well. Because, as you say, if you can have the best mic in the world in the shittiest room and it will still sound shitty. Yeah. A top-notch microphone like Michael's sat there with his U87 will pick up a lot of imperfections in the room that you wouldn't even necessarily think about. So it's not just in terms of like noise ingress and things like that, which it will pick up a lot more sensitively than, I mean, me and Jen are sat here with Aston Origins, which are a tenth of the price of the U87.
Aston Spirit, but still.
Oh, you've got the Spirit. Well, I can't see the bottom of it because your name's over that bit. But we've got the same pop shield.
We have, yeah. I think I had no idea, but I think absolutely
anyway.
right.
So so a microphone like an Aston is a great microphone. It's I don't know echo that good enough thing, but it is a professional quality microphone. It's great for that. But it's much less sensitive than a U87.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now
I've
been working with a client very recently who I can't remember exactly what the microphone was. I think it was a Neumann. It wasn't a U87, and it's situated in a very small blanket booth, and it's just really, really weird. I know that small rooms have strange acoustic properties, which I'm not going to go into now. So, you being situated in a small room, there's lots of difficulties in tweaking and tuning the acoustics in there. But with this being in a blanket booth, a lot of those small room rules kind of disappear slightly because you're not in hard walls. But it still sounded really compromised, I think is the best way. Not bad, but just not as good as it should be. Listening to this guy talking into a Neumann or whatever it was, and just thinking that should sound so much better than it does. So, it's in a very rare situation. I kind of said you've got two options. You can either make your booth bigger, and that's essentially the problem with it, or buy a cheaper microphone, which will still perform. You're still going to get the correct frequency responses and stuff like that, but you're going to get so much less, if that's English, so much less of the kind of issues you get. It wasn't even a boxiness that he was getting, which you often get in a small space. It just sounded wrong, getting a cheaper microphone would probably solve a lot of those issues.
So just
thinking, even if that didn't work, there's no harm at all in having a spare microphone for that one day when you come into the booth and for whatever reason the Neumann isn't working.
Yeah, very, very true. I was just going to say, so a lot of people who do listen to the podcast have been going a little while. So, I can hear myself back. I'm not sure what's happening there. And so is there anything that a voice actor could do then if there's like one tweak or something that you could suggest? People who've been going for a while, is there anything that you feel, there might not be, but just is there any advice you'd give someone who's been going for a while? They're not changing the setup necessarily, but that might improve audio quality or to be aware of?
I think it is a bit tricky with answering that kind of question because everybody's studio is a little bit different. Everyone's audio issues are slightly different. But I think it's just constantly being on top of it, really, and just when I started out doing the home visits, the tickling tours, and things like that, I was visiting a lot.
Just to clarify, he doesn't book appointments to tickle people.
I'm sure there is like a niche for that, though.
Yeah, there would be a market for that.
That phrase is an SEO nightmare for me, I'm not going to lie.
So when I started going around in situations like that, I'd be going around and visiting a lot of the kind of the veteran voiceovers who set up 20 years previous to that. And there was more than one instance, shall we say, when I'd turn up to the studio, and the studio would be fantastic. In those days it was kind of ISDN, then after that people got the computers in there because they were needing to MP3 things and stuff like that. But I'd go in and there'd be a mixing desk there because you needed that for ISDN. And on top of this mixing desk was 20 years of dust. And that's fine-ish. The studio is set up and then it is left. And that's okay. But it's not okay because, first of all, it kind of spoke to that level of technophobia that a lot of voiceovers have. You guys don't get into this game to be engineers. I got into this game to be an engineer because I love twiddling with knobs and tickling things and lots of other innuendo filled stuff.
Bad phrasing, Rob.
Yeah, totally. So having the studio set up and it was a kind of set and forget kind of mentality for a lot of that. Some of them, you know, when I was doing ICN sessions with them, you'd say, can you turn your gain up, can you turn your gain down? They knew how to do that, but the rest of everything was just kind of left alone.
Yeah.
And I think for a long time in that kind of generation of voiceover, that was fine because the technology wasn't changing. Yeah. But the technology today is changing a lot and pretty quickly. So first of all, our studio setups now is a lot, or can be a lot simpler than it could be in the days of ISDN. So if you are struggling with the level of tech that you are currently having to use, thank God you didn't start 20 years ago. But on top of that as well, you know, so much more is software based and all the rest of it. You know, do your absolute best to kind of keep on top of it and keep with where the industry is going and how the industry is changing. And, you know, Source Connect 4 was released, 18 months ago, something like that. And I don't know how much take-up there has been, but, you know, it does work in a different way to Source Connect 3.9 or 3.8 if you're on a PC. So, you know, keeping on top of these kind of changes and stuff like that is probably... just kind of future-proofing yourself as much as you can.
I'm actually a little guilty of that because I had a session about 6 weeks ago and they'd moved to Source Connect 4 and we hadn't updated it. And when we did finally update it, it sent all the preset settings into complete, like, scatter mode. And it was quite embarrassing because obviously, like, I do pride myself on I'm ready, I'm available, I'm good to go. Like, it's always quite a seamless thing. Now, thankfully, this was the second session I had with this client, and the first one went really well, built up a good rapport with them. So it kind of mitigated some of the damage, but it was quite embarrassing to, like, sorry, guys, I'm trying to fix this, I'm flustered, I don't like it. In that moment, I'm like, this looks bad. So then I was like, no, we had a problem with Source Connect 4, we had the same issue. So I was like, okay, there's a bit of relatability. Anyway, I had to reschedule it for an hour later, still wasn't working.
Oh, God.
And in the end, I had to get my laptop open. And we had to connect via Clean Feed or something instead, and I had to use two different systems because it just completely ruined everything. So so that is a very, very important thing.
Yeah, and I think just to give you a little bit of reassurance on that, I think I'm right in saying that it was a week or two ago that Source Connect did have issues at their end. Yeah. So it may not have been anything that you'd done wrong. It may have been, and I might be wrong about that. But I think
you can say that regardless.
Yeah. I think Source Connect did
exactly
have...
when the session was.
Yeah,
it times perfectly because that's.
Michael, do you often get a request for Source Connect? Because I think I've had it once, maybe.
No, I think the one I've been getting more often recently is Session Link Pro.
Session Link loads, but not Source Connect at all.
Bauer always on Clean Feed.
Yeah, same with Global.
Yeah, and then the vast majority of the clients that want the live sessions, they come on Session Link if they're used to working with voiceovers. Otherwise, it's Zoom.
Yeah.
I mean, I could probably count on one hand how many times I've used Source Connect in the last 12 months.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it?
Yeah. One other thing I was going to mention as well was that obviously there are loads of gadgets, tech, and software, etc., etc. Is there just, in a simplistic way, is there any things that you would always recommend are like the safe bets go to? So, like, what DAW would you recommend? It's not overly complicated, but has enough bells and whistles.
Yeah, I obviously it's a question I get asked a lot about what editor or DAW do I use, and my answer to that is always use whichever one you're most comfortable with. It's all about workflows, it's all about efficiency, and there's no point in me saying, I mean, for my part, I use Pro Tools, and I use Adobe Audition, but if you find those programs prohibitively complicated, there's very little point you battling your way to figure out how to do the basicest of tasks on those. Yeah. Plus, they're not cheap programs if you're not going to use more than the basic features. So if you need something simpler, then just go for whatever makes you feel comfortable and confident, because this is the other thing about being in the studio, is that you have to be confident in every aspect of it. You have to know that the microphone is working and works for you. You know how. You have to know how to get the best out of the microphone. You have to know the software. And this is the other thing about the studio environment that you're in. You know, you don't want to be doing your read, keeping half an ear out in case the dog starts barking or whatever it is. So you need to be confident in what is happening in the studio so that you can just concentrate on your performance. And that goes down to the software as well. So, you know, you need a stable computer system. And then whatever piece of software it is that makes you feel as happy as you can possibly be, then use that. So, I mean, Audacity gets a lot of slagging off, and it is not undeserved. But if that is the program that you genuinely work with best, even if it's just down to familiarity rather than anything else, you can produce perfectly good quality audio in Audacity. So carry on using that if that's where you are genuinely happiest and most confident. It's all about, yes, it's about producing a professional quality product at the end of it all, but it's all about being confident in the studio and making sure that as little as possible is adversely affecting your performance.
Yeah.
I actually did. I know we had Henry on a couple of weeks ago.
Henry Willard.
He's an audio engineer as well. And, off the back of that, I know it's not quite the same, but we're saying about how important a good audio engineer is on a session, so you can focus on your just doing your job. But the same is also true if you're just by yourself, having equipment that you understand fully. I mean, like I've just only last year I migrated over to Adobe Audition because I'm not very good with the tech stuff. I'm lucky that I've got Steph on the other side of the glass. But she's like flipping Rain Man on the keyboard. Really, like, honest to God, like she's like shortcut queen. Like, and I find it really overwhelming, and I don't really know what I'm doing. So. But I've kind of got used to it a bit now. But there are many times when I've got a session coming, I'll say, can you just stick around just for a minute, just to make sure something doesn't drop out, or because if it does, I don't know where the settings are. So it's the stress that I don't need or want.
Yeah, totally.
But over time, I've got used to it. So that is 100% a thing, because you don't want to be thinking about something.
No, you don't, because the more you're having to think about and concentrate on other things, the less of your mental energy you can actually put into lifting the words off the page.
Yeah, performance isn't going to be as good.
That applies to everything as well. It's not just your studio that's everything that you do in your business. Because there's only one of us generally doing all these bajillions of tasks that we're all supposed to be doing. You've got to pick your battles, and the easier you can win those battles, then the better. Whatever they are.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to ask you, Helen, as well, talking about winning battles, is about being seen online. And obviously, with you being really proficient with websites, having an online presence, obviously, you need to be searched, you need to be found. Yeah. There's another thing now that's quite popular. I don't know how much work you've done with it, but being found in like ChatGPT and stuff.
Oh, AI search is out with it. It is undoubtedly changing how people search for things. Undoubtedly. I think... It might sound a bit weird as someone who literally builds websites for a living, but I think people put too much emphasis on SEO a lot of the time. They put too much pressure on, or too much reliance on SEO. They think it's like this golden bullet that's going to solve all their issues, a bit like people sometimes think about social media solving the marketing bullet. It's not going to. Don't try and play the SEO game unless you have a big website. If you have a 1 to 10 page website, just don't worry about it. You have far more chance of getting work by direct marketing to people than you will of somebody finding you in a search term. So unless you are regularly putting out content and word-based, text-based content, if you're always going in and tinkering with your website, if you write blogs, if you've got a podcast that's linked to your website, if you're doing YouTube videos, if you're doing all of that, then SEO can be it can be a great place for people to find you, and it can be, it can drive a lot of traffic to your website. But like everything, you can only pick so many battles to try and win. And if writing is not your natural thing, then don't try and make that your aim. Don't worry so much about SEO. Worry about building relationships directly with humans who will then go to your website and see your work. You still have to have a website. I think a lot of people will
appreciate that, Helen.
I think people just get so het up about it.
Yeah.
And again, it's the same as social media. You're supposed to be on about 19 different platforms, posting 42 times a day. When the hell are we supposed to work?
I mean,
when
with
are
the
we
SEO
supposed to
thing,
actually do the job? I mean, it's just, SEO changes every couple of weeks anyway. Even Google don't tell you how to get found on Google. They give you a vague idea. It's one of those battles that if you're into it, great, you can do it. But don't stress about it. You have to do something. And I think that's the thing that people get so overwhelmed, they shut down and don't do anything. You have to have something online, and it has to have the basics. So it has to have who you are, how to contact you, the services you offer. Oh my Lord, can you please put the genres of VO that you work in on your website? Because you'd be amazed how many people don't. I've seen people without demos on their website, let alone downloadable ones. There's basic things that people need to know. It's your name, how to contact you.
You do a bit of a website check as well, don't you, Helen? Like, you do a bit as an audit, like, does anyone interested in getting...
Yeah, there's one-off kind of mini audits, or they can book in for a full website review. Course, and I think, particularly if you don't have a page per genre of work on your website, forget about worrying about SEO. Don't. Just don't. It's not worth the time.
Is that one thing you're finding? People are actually not even putting their demos on the website?
No, not so much now, but a few years ago, yep.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And they'd have, like, if you're trying to get work in, say, they'd have a couple of genres of demos, so they'd get the traditional corporate and commercial, but they wanted work in audiobook, and they didn't have anything on their site about audiobook.
And how would anyone know?
If you want to get work in an area of work, you have to talk about that area of work. You have to tell people that's what you do. And that is more beneficial. The SEO will come naturally through it anyway. You don't have to spend hours with SEO experts. And that's the other big warning for anybody looking to work with an SEO expert. Unless they understand all the different genres and terms of voiceover work, they are not going to do you any good at all. So unless they know the difference between a commercial and a corporate job, don't bother.
Right.
It's just a waste of money because it's such a specific term that you're trying to find. You've got more chance doing it yourself.
I also, just pushing back on the corporate thing, nobody in a business is typing in
corporate voiceover.
We use it but no one uses it.
No, they want a voiceover for an e-learning video.
For their marketing. No one uses it.
I want a voice to do my TikTok something or other. Exactly. And it's
to
learning the language of your clients.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's all for them.
If you spent as much time learning the language your client uses to find you and talking to your clients as people put on posting on social media or trying to work out SEO, you would get way more clients.
It's actually, that's an interesting point, that, because you're right, because I think it's very easy to fall back into using terms that we use all the time because we know it.
Yeah, what the fuck is corporate narration? No one
means nothing to that. E-learning really doesn't mean much to...
Yeah. I get e-learning, but...
It does to people who make e-learning videos, but not to a company who wants a video for their corporate introduction to explain what they do.
Yeah,
fire safety.
I'm just thinking about, like, when I go look in the search terms on the Search Console thing. Yeah, you never see corporate voiceover, explain a video voiceover. It's always voiceover for a video or voiceover man. All these really generic terms, but it's essentially just trying to get them to find a voiceover person.
And also, the big agency type or casting site websites have got all those terms locked under. I mean, you're going to have a very difficult time coming up high as a term generically as a male voiceover, because it'll be 123 and .com and all the rest of it. All those casting sites will be nailing those quite happily, thanks.
I'm actually just going to have a quick look now, just out of interest. To see.
Michael is very
Make sure
proud
if you are doing that, do it in incognito mode, because otherwise it'll bias to your search history and your social media.
Sorry, say that again. It'll do what?
You've got to do it in incognito mode, and preferably on a browser, clear all the cache, because otherwise it takes all your history into account. It will algorithm you like all these things do and show you things that you want to see.
Oh,
so,
really?
Oh, of course, yeah. It's a bit like social media. You accidentally click on one blooming...
Yeah.
I clicked on one bloody video of somebody building a hut in a wood, and I got nothing but for 3 months.
That sounds nice, though. What a nice thing to click on.
They were very... I mean, I did watch more, unfortunately. But
you've actually got into the garden now, but...
It's just like, I'll go and build a hut in a snowstorm, because that's what...
You see, you made me feel a lot better, because I love my website. I did it last year, the year before. I love it. But the SEO is absolute shite. But I feel proud now when I send it to a client.
And that's the bit that
matters.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to improve SEO and all that, because I know, Michael, you do rank quite highly, don't you? Yeah.
That's a less important thing. If you are embarrassed by your shop front...
And before I was like, this isn't me. I'm sending them something that doesn't feel like me. And now I'm like, that's me. Okay.
And do you find marketing easier because of it?
I mean, I'm shit at marketing, but that's a different time for another time.
But you're not embarrassed by it.
No, I'm not, and I feel like that's a true representation of me. That website now, so I feel much prouder of it.
I think the only thing I'd say for me, I found SEO to be like my website is probably now one of the main places I get my work from. But it's like what you said before, Helen. I've got massive amount of backlinks because of the podcast.
Yeah.
And I have social media stuff on YouTube, things that link back to it that really help it.
How many years have you had the website to build that to?
About 3.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite quick as well for SEO. I mean, I'm not going to... SEO is great. It can be incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
But it's not a golden bullet, and
absolutely.
And it's not a quick fix.
Yeah, it's absolutely not.
But I want it to be, Helen. I want it to be a quick fix.
God, I mean, if there were a few of those, I would take them willingly.
Yeah, yes.
But I agree that I think, although from doing the SEO work, obviously I saw the big difference, but at the same token, that doesn't take away from the direct marketing still needs to be done. Like it's not. It doesn't mean I can't just sit back and let the website do everything. That hasn't happened. It's just created more opportunities than it did before I did the SEO. But I totally agree that like it's not the magic bullet to fix everything at all, and it's highly competitive. Like someone types in male voiceover British, and bang, you've got a load of results. And again, as I said before, my problem is they'll see Manchester straight away. They'll be like, oh, no, well, I don't want a Manchester voice, not knowing that probably I'm not as Manchester as they thought I might be. So it kind of hurts me a little bit, if anything.
But then the last few jobs, because you've had quite a few through your website latterly, haven't you? Have they been like, we want specifically Manchester, or they're just like, we like the sound of your voice?
I'd say it's about 50-50.
Okay. Well, I mean, so that's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah. There are, like... Yeah, I'm thinking of recent... there's a TV commercial coming out for Counselling Directory. They wanted a northern voice, a Manchester voice, but the one before it, no, it was more just slightly leaning on neutral with a slight regional tone. So I guess I just sort of fit the bill. But yeah, it's not always Manchester. But I did think that. I thought with the whole branding stuff, I thought it would be just Manchester-based inquiries, which it was to begin with. The mistake I made was, though, I did all my SEO around northern male voiceover. That was a terrible idea because that search term is really, really low. But I was trying to keep it super niche by saying, I'm a northern voiceover, this is me. And I tried it, the search results went down, so I thought, well, if I broaden it, yes, okay, the pool is bigger and I might get lost in it. But for those that come across me, I might get work. As opposed to just niching down on northern, what I personally found was the search term was too low for it to warrant any kind of volume. Do you know what I mean? So I just experimented a little bit.
And also, just to throw another fun spanner, is if you're working internationally, northern voiceover means sod all.
Well, this is a problem I had.
What does that mean to somebody who's based in Dubai?
Because this is exactly what I had. So my tagline was around strong northern actor, soft northern accent, because it was all around that. And then I was like, but I was going to fucking know, if like in America, then I can like northern what?
So
then I had like British and everything.
Where?
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't matter. So I think that's it. It's about knowing who your clients are, what they need, what they need to happen in your studio during that session, and And
I think if you're doing, I think having a website that's got the basics on there, and then doing the direct marketing, the social media that can drive people to it. Essentially, it's keeping. I feel like mine needs another overhaul now because you get to that point where you're kind of sort of sick of looking at it and I think there's so many things that could improve on it. But essentially,
I think the same about mine. I think that's the thing. It's a bit like anything.
Ending.
It's a constant tweaking and development. It's a bit like Rob was saying. You can't just have a bit of tech and let it sit there for 10 years anymore. Yeah. It has to be evolved. It has to change. Yeah. The industry itself has changed dramatically in 5 years several times. Yeah. So you have to reflect that in the tech that you use in your studio, in the way that you market yourself, in the way that the website is. It's not
It's pretty exhausting.
It is. It's not a do it once ever, unfortunately, and it is knackering. It's so tiring.
Everyone's coming away from this podcast feeling like,
it's so tired.
Feelings. I mean, to be fair, it's like what you said before, Helen. It is like when you throw in trying to do social media posts, and whether that's the Instagram audience is not the same as the TikTok audience, and then if you do YouTube as well, do you do landscape or portrait for YouTube Shorts? Then you're thinking about website direct. I mean, there's a lot to try and get into. What I found is although I am trying to juggle a lot of spin a lot of plates, because from the whole going full circle, like the personal branding, I'm trying to show up more online by just being me and sort of more like in a vlog sort of way, so it kind of humanises what I do for a living and the person behind the microphone.
That's cool.
But it's exhausting trying to do that all the time. So I've just decided not to put too much pressure on myself, stick to some of the formats that I believe work better than others, and just focus on those for now, and over time just grow it. But it's like it can be overwhelming. It really,
it can
easily.
It's a lot to think about.
I think remember that those experts that are telling you to post however many times a day, sometimes actually breaking the rules is the thing that makes you stand out more. So we do a podcast and we launch it once a month. No podcast expert would say that the way we do our podcast as a monthly episode is the way to do a podcast. But we do, and people listen. And it drives traffic to our website, and it works.
Yeah.
Email marketing, people say that you're supposed to send out however many millions of cold emails a day.
Yeah.
But actually, if you really research who those people are that you're sending to them, and they're much more targeted, then you don't. There's rules that you can break and make work for you, and I think that's with everything. Yeah. Surely that's the same with the studio stuff as well. It's like Rob's saying about choose kit that works, that you understand, that you work with, that you find more natural and you find easier to deal with, because then you're going to keep at it. It's not going to overwhelm as easily.
Yeah, very true. It's very easy to get there's lots of information, lots of advice out there, but I think you do have to sometimes be careful who you're taking advice from. Looking at people who are, like, I've done this with YouTube, like with the sleep story stuff I do. When I first got into it, I was looking at other creators, what are they doing? But you can't really compare yourself to someone who's got 750,000 subscribers. They're in a different stratosphere.
But also
they can take risks that you can't take when you're starting out, because they've got the audience for it. So you got to take a pinch of salt with where you get the information from and how it's been presented and who's giving it, because they're coming from a different place sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's about making it your own. The new trends are never going to be what everybody else is already telling you should do. It's going to be something different. And your way of thinking, your way of approaching it, your way of doing whatever it is could be the thing that makes you stand out more because of the way that you do it and how you do it. That's the bit that's unique.
I think Michael earlier on in the call said the word authenticity, and that's what it is. I might kind of twist that slightly and say it's honesty. I mean, one of the things which I absolutely hate doing, and Helen will tell you how much I hate doing this, is talking to people on the telephone. So if I was going to be doing marketing, the last thing I would be doing is cold calling people and trying to sell my services, that way, because I just would not come across well at all.
We ain't going to be doing TikTok video dancing, are we, Rob?
No.
I'd hate to see that, though.
It would get a lot of hits, I mean, the one-off, but it would work as a one-off. But then again, if we did that every week... Well, for all the wrong reasons.
Well, I think that's a great way to leave it, and we've gone full circle, and I think, that's from where we started off to where we've ended up. I think going back to that point of how you present yourself online, that authentic version of you, just be unapologetically you, let your personality shine through. That is the brand, quote unquote. That's what people buy, or why people buy and why people come back and people remember you. So that's it's a good full circle moment. Folks, thank you so much for this episode. It's been,
if you're still here, well done.
It's a mammoth length one.
It's a mammoth, but it's been so useful.
It's been really incredibly insightful. I genuinely, I've made some notes before. I was like, a few things I might start tweaking. I might even drop the whole Manchester VO thing now. This might be a turning point in my career. But honestly, thanks so much for your time.
It's always lovely to see you both.
Always good.
Thank you.
It's been super insightful. So thanks very much for listening, folks. We sincerely hope you enjoyed this one as much as we did, and I guess we'll catch you on the next episode.
Catch you on the next one. Thanks,
Cheers,
everyone.
Folks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.